Okay, welcome to our December Borough Service Cabinet meeting. I'll start by taking the roll for what it's worth. Start with the community boards first. Community Board 1, Community Board 2, Community Board 3, Community Board 4, Community Board 5, Community Board 6, Present. Community Board 7, Present. Community Board 8, Present. Community Board 9, Community Board 10, Present. Community Board 11, Community Board 12, Community Board 13, Community Board 14, Here. Community Board 15, Community Board 16, Present. Community Board 17, Present. Community Board 18. Okay, moving to the agencies. ACS, Department for the Aging. Is that present? Present. Department of Buildings. Present. Department of City Planning. DCAS. Commission on Human Rights. Present. Department of Consumer Affairs. Department of Design and Construction. Department of Environmental Protection. Present. Fire Department. Department of Health. Department of Homeless Services. HPD. HRA. Mayor's Office. Public Library. Parks Department. Police Brooklyn North. Police Brooklyn South. Department of Probation. Department of Transportation. DYCD. New York City Transit. Con Edison. Verizon. Department of Corrections. Department of Finance. DUIG. National Grid. Department of Sanitation North. Department of Sanitation South. Small Business Services. U.S. Postal Service. All right. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our meeting. I'm going to jump right into the first agenda item and then come back to announcements later on, because I know that our first presenter has to leave at a certain time, so I want to bring him on as quickly as possible. So we're going to skip right to the first agenda item, and that is a presentation by the Department of Environmental Protection on Section 86 required notifications. This is a follow-up discussion from an agenda item earlier this year, and Eric Landau from the Department of Environmental Protection will present. Eric, you want to? I'll just note CB11 is here.
Good morning. So I'm Eric Landau. I'm the Associate Commissioner for Public Affairs for the Department of Environmental Protection. I know several of you from previously when I was at Prospect Park Alliance, so it's good to see so many of you again, especially the community boards that I work so closely with that border the park, Jeremy, Craig, Sean, Michelle. Presentation is a strong word. I'm not actually making a presentation, but rather we wanted to update the group on the conversation about 86 notifications and what we've sort of done since I think this issue last came up in late July, early to mid-August. And so we had been notified by Borough Hall that this group had had concerns that you weren't receiving notifications about capital work that was taking place in the street, specifically related to water mains, sewers, etc. And that in the past you had gotten notifications that included time, date, location, boundary, and a schematic of what the work was going to include. We worked with Andrew and the staff here at Borough Hall, and what we came up with was sort of an understanding that there are two main types of capital work that you'll see going on in the street. There is planned, scheduled work, whether it's a storm sewer extension or fixing a water main or something. And then there is emergency work. And so in the case of emergency work, when something happens, say a water main breaks in the middle of, for an example, this happened right outside the Holland Tunnel the Friday morning of Columbus Day weekend, right at morning rush hour. When a water main breaks right there, our team goes right out, right away. They find the source of the leak, they shut off the water, and they immediately start to repair the leak and then put the street back the way they found it. That can take anywhere from a few hours to even as much as a day, depending on, or longer, depending on how deep the water main is, how big the water main is, how significant of a leak it is. In those instances, in those emergency instances, what we had said back in August and what we still say today is that in those instances, our team goes right out. And so, as it's an emergency. And so that is not where we would do the notification that had the hand-drawn schematic. What we will do is, and our community affairs unit will do this, and they do this, is they will send out notification to the community boards that indicate what is happening, where it is happening, and when it is happening. Since August 11th, which is when we sort of had this conversation, there have been 20 instances in Brooklyn where we have had emergency work that was required, where our team went out. In all 20 of those instances, emergency notifications did go out to the community boards. Now, oftentimes, the notification says that the work is beginning, let's say, take an example of August 11th on Putnam Avenue between Nostrand and Bedford. In that instance, a notification went out on August 11th from the Community Affairs Unit. The notification said that the work was going to begin on August 11th. So as soon as we became aware of the situation, our crew may have already been on the street. When you hear about it, our crew may already be on the street, and in some cases our crew may already be done by the time that the Community Affairs Unit gets notified and then they notified. Because again, our water and sewer operations and those teams are going to go straight out. So that's the emergency, and that is the bulk of what has happened citywide, and quite frankly, that is all that has happened in the borough of Brooklyn. So I understand that you have not received any notifications that have a hand-drawn schematic since this last discussion. That is because we have not had any scheduled or planned work in the borough of Brooklyn. So we have operated exactly as we've said that we would. We've done so in good faith, and we will continue to do so. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from community boards?
Yeah,
Sean?
No, you go first, Joseph.
Hi, Eric.
How are you?
Nice to meet you. Actually, I spoke to you over the summer, briefly. So,
And I'm sorry, your community board?
I'm Josephine Beckman. I'm sorry, Community Board 10, Bay
Right.
Ridge, Dyker
Yep.
Heights, and Fort Hamilton. So, I think I see things, and many of us see things a little bit differently. We had always received sewer repair notifications, SRNs, during planned work. And I would say, from my board's perspective, we haven't received an SRN since, I think it was July of 2 years ago. And we had two projects in the district, one on Fort Hill Place and one on Ovington Avenue that we did not receive notification. And both jobs, I argue, are planned work. I spoke to DEP field workers on Ovington Avenue. I did get a call from Denise when the work was already underway, about several days underway. And I think that there's a problem in communication. Because when the boards used to receive the sewer repair notifications, they came directly from the field when there was planned work. So that process has ended. That ended in July of 2012. I'm sorry, 2013, right? 2013, July of 2013. And it ended, it was a policy decision change that was made because some boards, my board, and maybe another board in Queens, was questioning work after we had received an SRN. Routine questions, not adversarial, questions about road closures, competing other jobs that were immediately in the area. So those SRN notifications stopped, and they weren't ideal, they weren't the best in terms of specific notification, because sometimes they would be months and months in advance. But they were on our radar when we received an SRN. So for example, Ovington Avenue, which is work that was recently done, it was planned work. I got a notification from Denise by phone because the person, or the unit within DEP, didn't notify her, or notified her probably later. I already knew about the work. Now, Ovington Avenue in my board recently was repaved. So in a situation like this, I would have received an SRN notification maybe a few weeks in advance for planned work, and it would have been on my radar because I'm responsible for my district. So I would have been alerted to that. I would have reached out to Denise. I would have been proactive and reached out to Denise and said, I see this is upcoming. I also have a paving list, and I want to make sure that it's coordinated. So I guess what I'm saying is that from Board 10's perspective, we've had two sewer-related work that was not emergency, that was planned work, that we were not notified about. And I think the reason we were not notified was because of the communication internally within DEP. And I think that's why the SRN initially was created from the wastewater division of operations directly to community boards, so that we would be notified and we would be informed of upcoming scheduled work, whether it was a week away, whether it was a month away. We're fully aware emergencies happen, breaks happen, and you know, we get notified usually by PD or by residents, and we understand that notification. That was always different. What has changed is the planned SRN notifications. We are no longer receiving them. That included the schematic, and that's something that I am requesting from Board 10 be reinstituted by DEP.
Thank you. So I will look into these two specifics. What's the time period?
So Fort Hill Place was over the summer in August. I have an email trail I could certainly send to you. You're part of it.
Denise has it all too?
Denise doesn't have it.
No, I said Denise has it.
Denise was away on vacation during the Fort Hill Place. Specifically, there was another DEP team member. There were signs that were posted on the street. Initially, I thought it was a homeowner name, but the street was closed, which impacted traffic off the Verrazano Bridge, traffic from another street that could have gained access to a main roadway. And again, it's not adversarial. Those notifications help us work together to
Nope,
do our job.
100%, totally great. I had a conversation yesterday with the Deputy Commissioner of Water and Sewer Operations, who's responsible for everything underground, who reaffirmed his commitment to me that we would send out these notifications with the hand-drawn schematic on planned, scheduled work.
Right, but I think they need to come from the unit that they used to come from the wastewater operations. Because if they're not coming directly when that order is made for that repair, whether it's down the road, it's going to get lost.
It would come from the folks that Water and Sewer Operations is the.
Bruce Robinson was the DEP contact who used to email that list out to us, and he did a very good job. It was never one that we missed. It was always one that we received. And if we had questions on that upcoming work, we reached out. Always reached out to my liaison. So that's what we do internally at the office. Is we keep track of all kinds of work, other events that may not be in the CECM, community events. That are called into our office, you know, block sales, those type of events we coordinate, street paving. So within our districts, you know, it's really incumbent, I think, to receive that notification. It just becomes so important, and when it stopped, it really changed the way, it just changed the efficiency of our office in dealing with these types of construction running in districts. So that's my appeal to you and to the commissioners, that would be restored from 410.
Hi, Eric. Nice to see you.
You too, Sean.
If you could just clarify, you said there is no planned work occurring in the borough at all right now, or no new planned projects?
We have nothing. So there are projects that we do obviously with DDC that do that. The projects that we would be doing internally that we would deem as scheduled or planned, there has been nothing in this time period. What I was told was that there has been nothing in this time period from sort of mid-August to now, anything that would be scheduled or planned requiring that notification.
Since mid-August. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. And then as far as the emergency work goes, the 20 emergency jobs that have come up since that date in August,
Yep.
Could you, how do they come to your attention? How do you know what work? When we get the day of notification, it says what kind of work is being done. I'm looking at a December 5th notification for work beginning on December 5th, saying that saw cutting is going on. It has the duration of the job. And so if it's an emergency job, how do you already know that if you're giving us the day of notification?
We said that when we become aware that something happened and our crews go out, they notify our community affairs unit, and our community affairs unit then send out that notification to you.
And then how does it have a contract number? Is that just a contract for all emergency work?
I believe that's correct. Denise?
Okay. And then finally on this, if it's an emergency notification, perhaps if the word emergency were somewhere on the notification, that might add clarity the minute we get it, because this says, you know, to upgrade and maintain the city's infrastructure. It has the language of a planned job.
Okay,
and
that's
the word
fine. We can take
emergency
a look
isn't
at
on
that.
at all, just a simple,
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Marnie Elias Pavia from CB11, Bensonhurst, Bath Beach. Is it possible, I don't know if you just touched on it, I was looking at my notes, but could we get notification on those emergency plan jobs when the contractor gets it? Because what's happening is on major streets in my district, there's emergency work being done, and we're getting the notification when the contractor comes in. That's way too late. For example, 83rd Street between 18th and 19th Avenues, in October, we had an emergency job, but we also had the Columbus Day Parade. And this was corner-to-corner trench work, and we could have mitigated some of the issues
As soon
beforehand.
as soon as our team becomes aware of it, we immediately make you aware of it.
Yeah, but if it's the same day, it's too late. How can we get it beforehand, before the team gets it? I mean, you're sending people out to do engineer work, to determine what the damage is, what the scope
Right.
of
And
work is.
so if a water main were to break right now,
But it's not a water main. Most of
or
our
if there was a
issues-
sewer collapse.
Sewer
Sure, so if there was a
collapses.
sewer collapse that happened right now, somewhere in the city, and our
Yes.
team would go out, our community affairs group would be notified, and then they would notify you.
That's not how it's happening, though. And it's not the fault of the community affairs. They're giving us the information as soon as they're getting it. They're being very receptive and understand the needs of the district.
Yeah.
What's happening is they're not getting the information until the job is happening. And that's something that maybe we can look at so we can coordinate together.
Okay.
And we would appreciate if you could bring that back and work on how we can better coordinate in our districts.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so then we'll follow up with DEP on those points about changing the notice for emergency work, as well as figuring out a process on that work as well. And we'll follow up in a future meeting on that. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
So in the spirit of tackling the agenda, we'll move on to our next agenda item, and then we'll tackle the announcements and everything else at the end. So our second agenda item is a presentation by the Department of Sanitation on snow removal, or rain removal, I guess, for today. Guidelines and procedures for the winter 2014, winter 2015. We have Deputy Chief Puglisi from Brooklyn South and Deputy Chief DiPolo from Brooklyn North, who are here to give us a quick update and take any questions. So, gentlemen, you want to come up? Yeah.
Hi, good morning. Deputy Chief Vincent DiPaolo, Brooklyn North. Deputy Chief Puglisi, Brooklyn South. I'll go over a few numbers for the Brooklyn North side. Andrew will do the same first. Right now, Brooklyn North, which encompasses BK Community Boards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 16, and 17. We have 834 sand workers, 101 supervisors. We've hired 130 snow laborers as of last Friday, I believe, for crosswalks emergency work. We have 32 salt spreaders, 4 flow and dump salt spreaders, 9 utility holsters, and we're in the process of receiving 7 skid steers. This is something new for this year, or bobcats, if you will, to assist us in crosswalks and all tight blocks, small blocks, dead ends, and problem areas. We should receive them sometime this week. They should help us out in the future. We have currently Brooklyn North 5 salt locations. We have 5 calcium chloride locations. We have 1 snow dump location, and we have a new plan, or a new way of salting and plowing streets this year in Community Board 8, called sectoring routes. It's a pilot program. We were chosen, BK8, it was chosen to be the first in Brooklyn North to do that. I reviewed all the routes. They look fine. We continue to drive them and re-drive them and continue to go over them for any typos or any type of, misguided turns or safety issues, construction issues that maybe we don't know about. So we've been doing that for the last month or so, and we made a couple of slight revisions on a few of the routes, and I don't foresee any problems this year in Community Board 8. We have plenty of salt on location, calcium chloride. Our equipment is the same as we've been allocated for the last 10 years or so, so I don't foresee any problems there. I'm grateful today. It's warm today, and it's not 10 degrees colder because we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And that's basically all I have for Brooklyn North.
Good morning, everyone. Andrew Puglisi, Brooklyn South Borough. More or less going to mirror what Vinny was talking about. The difference in Brooklyn South, what we're excited about, is we have a new salt location on Flatbush Avenue by the Toys R Us parking lot, which is going to help a lot with Community Board 14, 18, 15, and not having to, go all the way down to Shore Parkway, and with the new construction for the MTS and Community Board 11, we want to make sure those guys don't get bottlenecked by everyone else. So that I think will benefit a lot of the community boards. 11 and 12 go down to Shore Parkway, and it's going to alleviate a lot of their pressure and make it easier for them to just go in and out. We're excited about the skid steers. That's going to help with crosswalks, bus stops, clearing areas like that, even bike lanes in some areas where I believe are going to get 8. We're not sure how they're going to be allocated yet. We haven't received any. I don't know. You haven't either, right? Yeah, I know they're training everyone on them now, so we just look forward to, coming up with a plan with it. One of our big concerns in 7-10 is the HOV lane, which we had a problem with last year. That was really with the contractor and how they were curing the concrete, and the water wasn't draining right, and it would just freeze overnight. So we have a brine truck for that just sprays liquid calcium chloride, similar to how they do the Brooklyn and Manhattan Bridge. So that helps a lot with the rock salt. We were finding even when we put it down, the cars would go over it, kind of blow it towards the corners, and then the water would just pool in the middle, and it was a disaster. So the brine works much better. It just hits the ground, it saturates into the concrete, and it doesn't get blown around by the wind. So that should hopefully work out.
Questions?
First, if we wanted to help promote the laborer jobs for snow removal, how would we find out more information about how people can get hired and what we should tell the public?
Go to any local district, their closest district that they live by.
You could send them down to BK6, and they'll sign them up.
Is there information online, a flyer, or any kind of printed information?
It's very simple. You need 2 passport photos, 2 forms of ID, and I believe a social security.
Right. We prefer passing along something official from the agency, so if there's some
Yeah.
place that we can get a flyer or something in writing.
Yeah, it should be dsmy.nyc.gov, and they'll have.
We'll take a closer look at that. My second question is, I'm very curious and probably jealous too of Community Board 8. Can you say a little bit more about the pilot that's going on?
Yeah, it's a pilot. It's basically new routes. We've had the same routes since I've been on this job. It's 25 years, and I've only known one way, and that's the routes we've had in place.
So what was the new thinking that went into the
They would improve the time, the completion time of the routes. And another benefit would be that all the routes would start at the same time, instead of the current system we have now where primaries are done, secondaries, tertiaries. In the new plan, it's called critical, and the second round is secondary, or they'll all be started at the same time. So it'd be quicker service to everyone involved.
I have several questions, and I mostly don't want to talk about this year. I want to talk about the future. But regarding this year, the seasonal workers that you hire to do the corners, does that also include the 4th Avenue medians?
That would be,
Generally, they have preset routes that they would do. The actual median, some parts of it is parks, where it's Green Street.
Very, very little of it in my district.
I know when they do them.
Not the entire median itself, just within the crosswalk.
Yeah, just basically the, I guess,
Because this is a problem we've had for many years. While the corners are getting cleaned, folks then have to cross 4th Avenue, which has the median. The median isn't clean, so people then have to move out into traffic rather than walk through ice. So we're defeating the Vision Zero plan to make 4th Avenue safer because people then have to move into traffic. So if there's a way to include the median within that those contracts, I would greatly appreciate it, because we might not be solving anything if we're making corners safer, but children, because 4th Avenue in my district has a lot of schools, still have to move into traffic. So the medians are vitally important to me. Less important, but we also have a problem with jurisdiction, because it's parks, it's DOT, is the area right around the Prospect Expressway. Most specifically to me, and I'm sure Ryan Lynch, who works here now, can tell you the Sealy Street Bridge, which is not your problem, it's DOT. DOT never does the Sealy Street Bridge. I have a feeling when people call 311, they're calling it in to sanitation. Does sanitation then reach out to DOT?
We tried, we have the same problem with the avenues going between 61 and 62, where the MTS is all over there. And with personnel, we'll do it. If we have enough laborers, we'll put them there. If we don't have the laborers, and we have, it depends.
I would
on
prefer
the,
DOT does it. I'm just asking if you get communication through 311 or anybody.
Yeah, I mean, something like that, just using it as a similar scenario. It's MTA property or DOT property. If it's a large storm, we usually get snow laborers, we get a large amount.
Right.
Oftentimes, it's the 2-inch little storm that just leaves that little layer.
Right.
And we don't have snow laborers. Now we have to rely on doing it with sanitation personnel. That's where you run into problems, and that's where we need that cooperation from a DOT or an MTA or someone else.
I mean, for years I've been talking about this, not just about this issue, but agency communication. We're not seeing it between agencies, where you may have a problem that most people think is a sanitation problem, but it's really an agency, and they're never hearing about it. So I would greatly appreciate it if you could reach out to DOT and maybe coordinate with them beforehand, you know, rather than when there are incidents. I have 2 other issues, but if my colleagues would.
Can I jump in up here though, Jeremy? Because just to keep the segue, I think that's especially true with transit too, because transit is responsible only for the 3 feet from the
Right.
entrance exit of the station. That means the sidewalk that gets you to that 3-foot radius doesn't really get attention. So if we could get some determination on responsibility.
And there's
for
parks
that.
too. There are
Yeah.
several agencies involved here that I really don't think there's communication between them, and they'll clean right up to their 3-foot limit.
Right.
And then there's nothing done beyond that, and folks in the community, unless they call us or maybe an elected official, they don't know who it is. 311, who doesn't have eyes on the site, they don't know what agency it should be either.
Correct. And we did get a lot of extra help last year in most of the 19 snow events that occurred last season from DOT and from the snow laborers. But 14 also has a little bit of a problem with snow laborers because of the distance from the district and the garage. So that can be attended to too. And I have a couple others, but I interrupted you, so you go finish yours.
Well, I'll let anybody else go also.
Yeah.
Andy wants to chime in a second?
Not regarding that, that's an ongoing issue between the committee boards, talk about that. But what I want to do is I want to thank you guys, I'm with New York City Transit. A big thank you in the past for getting bus stops clean as soon as possible. I know that the primary, you guys do the primary roads and a lot of those go to bus routes. So, and just to piggyback on, so thank you very much. I'm assuming that your bus stop strategy is going to continue.
Oh, yes.
And the Bobcats will help those, or the Bobcats for the bus stops too?
The Bobcats, they're brand new, so they're going to be used for crosswalks, bus stops, bike lanes. you know, some of the enclosed bike lanes where we can't get in on Williamsburg and west for me, up by Flushing Avenue, where we can't get in, they'll be perfect for a Bobcat. They can get in and clean them right out, where right now we have to send in snow laborers or sanitation workers. And like Andrew said, if we don't have the snow laborers, it becomes impossible to clear it right away. So the Bobcats will help us quickly service the narrower bus lanes and crosswalks and bus stops and you know, dead-end streets and any tight BK8, Eastern Parkway, service road that we service, any problem areas like that. So yes.
How will the Bobcats cap be allocated? One per district or what?
Brooklyn North is getting 7.
7, right.
7,
So
right.
is one coming to Community Board 5?
I believe it is.
Thank you.
Hi, well, my name?
Those who aren't here today don't get
Who was BK6 was
Yeah.
It's critical routes, sector routes, utility holster routes. Is the new critical, it just popped into my head, put a new sectoring plan. So.
I have some concerns, and this has been an issue in our community board for quite some time in 17. I remember a number of years ago, we advocated for an extra plow. Unfortunately, when it snows heavily, our plow goes to the highways and our streets are deserted. I'm hoping that with everything that happened during the last snowstorm, that we've learned our lessons, that you know, the streets have to be plowed simultaneously while the highways are being done. I'm glad that my colleague Sean mentioned the subways, the junction, Flatbush Junction has been an issue in my community.
The Broadway Junction?
Flatbush.
Flatbush Junction.
Flatbush Junction, Church Avenue, Church and Nostrand Avenue, those are two heavily used subways. So I'm hoping that this year, when we do get the snowstorm, whenever it arrives, that we have enough plows for District 17. It has been an issue for a number of years, and I don't know if off the top of your head, if you know how many plows we have right now.
I do. You're talking about a salt
17.
spreader? I know. So a salt spreader or
The snow.
A salt spreader or a plow?
Both.
Both. Yeah. I believe. Hold on, I can get it for you.
Okay, I'll appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, the thing with the plows, just the major problem we have sometimes with plows, especially in some of those side streets, is as we go through with a plow, it's going to leave an inch or two of clearance because it just can't scrape along the sidewalk like a small pickup truck. So just based on the way the curves are and the sewer cap, so it's going to leave that little bit of, you know, whatever, and then it just gets packed out. When you get a cold storm, it's going to turn into ice, and it just makes it harder to just melt it. And then it's just something that it's unfortunate, but it's just really hard to. You'll go down the street and say, hey, it wasn't plowed. It was plowed. It's just as they went over it, you had 4 or 5 inches of snow on that street. Now you leave that packed inch, and you get a 20-degree day, that just turns into an inch of ice, which you can put all the salt in the world on it. It just takes time to melt. That was one of the big problems I know we were having last year.
It was very cold last year.
And you couldn't win. I mean, it just got below 25, 20 degrees, and nothing's working.
You currently have 5 salt spreaders, and anywhere roughly, depending on the storm, 25 to 30 plows that are put out on any given day. And in my experience, when we know a community board or an area is lacking in attention, we'll send an extra spreader to help clear the area.
Do you still have that program where any community resident could, I'm trying to remember, it's an app that you can check to see where?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
The sectoring is supposed to be more user-friendly too, and everybody's starting at the same time, so it's a pilot program, and I believe sometime in the near future, it'll be everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the things the commissioner was speaking about, where the city council was they want to get through all the schedules first before they, okay, can you readdress this or readdress that? Because a lot of times it just deters us. We have to just move away and go do something else. That guy or that person's doing their route, has to get pulled from their route to go somewhere else and then pick up where they left off. We want to be able to get through all our schedules first, and then we'll divert into other things, other specifics.
Other questions?
Oh, okay.
Josephine hasn't spoken yet.
I didn't go yet. Hi, I'm Josephine Beckman, CB10, Bay Ridge, Steiger Heights, and Fort Hamilton. So we're a District 2 that has a lot of highways, so that, we're always, want to make sure that we have our equipment, that it's optimal. I did review the snow plan and didn't see Ward 10 specific equipment allotment. I don't know if I missed that in the snow plan. So if there's a way that I could get that info, I would appreciate it. Second is I echo some of the other questions that my colleagues raised with some of the jurisdictional issues. I always refer to the Leventhal Agreement, but it's very challenging, I know, with resources and limitations, especially in our district on 62nd Street. It is a high pedestrian traveled area now. The demographics have changed significantly, and the density of those areas become a lot more pedestrian active. There's new school on 62nd Street at Fort Hamilton Parkway. So aside from the tremendous dumping problem that we have, for a whole bunch of young families and children attending, our new PS 314, those overpasses at 62nd Street do become very important, not only in terms of transit, but also in terms of many schools, PS 69, 314, all seem to now be along the 62nd Street corridor. And when I first became district manager, there was very little pedestrian traffic. I wouldn't even know the number that it's increased, probably 100-fold. So we do stress that and do work with our super on that. But getting the equipment would be helpful.
Yeah, we actually added one spread to BK10. They had that truck with the brine for the HOV, the ones, and that runs all the way through 7 into 6, all the way down to the top. But they were actually given an extra piece of equipment. As far as those overpasses, it's a tricky thing. When we get a full-blown snowstorm and we take on laborers and everyone else is focused on snow, it's easy to move some people around into it. But when it's the little ones that hurt, because the little ones really are right back to picking up garbage, full steam ahead, and just to have the personnel for manual clearing, it just isn't there. So that's really the hard part. That's the challenge with that. So hopefully with the Bobcats this year, see how we can work that out. It's always a challenge.
So getting back to salt, for several years I have been requesting and been denied. CB7 and CB10 salt pile is located at the base of a pier that's no longer in use and is falling down, and there are several holes in the salt shed in the roof. For years I have been saying we're building a park right next door. Well, the park's now open. We have sensitive environmental areas within the park. I'm very worried. It doesn't have to be a flooding issue. It could be a heavy rain issue. That we could be poisoning these sensitive environmental areas that we've been planning for years, and in a park that's now open. Is it possible just to shore up the roof of the shed so we're not having rain pouring on the salt and the salt getting into the harbor right at this site?
I would have to see what they have in the works for that. They might have something in mind for that already.
The last I checked, which was this year's capital plan, there's nothing in capital for it. I'm not sure if there's something being discussed with regard to repair. Maybe it doesn't reach $35,000, I don't know. But I think at this point it's essential to keeping that park and the sensitive areas there safe.
Yeah, it would most likely fall under a repair, emergency repair. I would look into that and see. have someone contact you back on it.
I would
It's a
appreciate
little
it.
tricky because if it involves emptying the salt dome
Right.
to repair it, then you run into a different problem.
But we've been talking about this for years, and now the park's finally open. Truthfully, it should have been done years ago. And then finally, I'm happy to hear, and I was aware of, but I'm happy to hear about the brine being used on the Gowanus Expressway. Back in June, and CB7, we think about the winter before the summer, we wrote to the commissioner to talk about alternatives to using salt on the roadways. My colleague Craig, I know, has followed up on that as well. I'm not sure if any of my other colleagues have. We have not heard back from the commissioner. So I have also spoken to Johari, I think is gone, but we've spoken to Con Ed about that. We're aware that they're looking into alternatives as well. We know that the salt is causing infrastructure damage. DOT never stated it directly, but I believe that the fact that we lost all of the lines that they painted last year had to do with all the salt that was on the roadway last winter. Is sanitation considering alternatives for city streets to salt?
I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of different factors with that. It's a lot quicker to load a salt spreader than it is a brine truck. For example, when our salt spreaders have calcium chloride saddlebags, two 100-gallon saddlebags on the side of them, and they generally last through a shift, sometimes depending on how heavy it's used. Those take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to load. They're loaded just like you would pump gas into your car, as opposed to salt, which at 16 cubic yards, it's 5-6 scoops to the front end loader, and the guy's on his way. So with something like that and brine, which is a great idea, using it on a grand scale would just be a challenge. You'd have to really redo the whole infrastructure, find a way to quickly load the equipment. It's just a lot involved to it. Other options.
Calcium chloride's the only other one we're using currently, other than salt.
Using other things, I mean, there might be ideas and alternatives they're exploring. I'm not sure of them, but he would have to undergo testing and its feasibility in New York City.
Well, we weren't suggesting any one in particular. We were just suggesting that sanitation look at the alternatives, look at other municipalities that are using things other than salt, rock salt.
Yeah. I'm sure they have ideas they're looking into, but it's a lot involved with where you put in. And I don't know if it would work here. It's just so many factors. I'm sure they have things they're looking into.
Where do you currently keep brine? Is it at the different districts?
It's
Where
kept
being
down, I
used?
believe, like in Case 710.
Okay, so it's kept there.
Yeah. It's just a regular calcium chloride.
Where is that stored?
It's in a tank. It's in a plastic tank. It's a huge 4,500-gallon tank.
Is that tank on that rotten beer?
In Brooklyn North, we have 5 different locations of calcium chloride, so they're strategically placed, in the
So
boroughs.
in Brooklyn South, is it only at
No,
710?
it's in several. We actually have, I think, 7 different locations. You don't want them right by the salt pile because they can cause a bottleneck. It takes a long time. Putting it by the salt pile is just going to cause
To refill
traffic
it, it's a
jam.
gravity feed, so it takes a very long time to refill it. It's obscenely long, to me too long, but it's a gravity feed, and they go to one place, load up salt, and usually they last long. But once you fill it up, we try to fill them up before, definitely fill them before the storms, in between shifts. When you get a break in your snow, and refill them and stuff like that.
We never really
So,
usually like to top them off.
Yeah.
They can make it through
Yeah.
2 shifts, but you never want to be in that point
Yeah.
where,
When
oh
you're
wow,
running
I
out.
have to go get it.
So-
I want to always be topped off. But
So-
it's just time consuming.
There are 7 locations. How many brine trucks are there in South, I guess, for my colleagues?
Yeah, Brooklyn North has zero.
Yeah, just one for BK.
Just one, but there's 7 locations to fill it.
No. We use that same mix in all the spreaders for
Yeah.
calcium chloride.
Saddlebags, if you notice on the salt spreaders, they have the white saddlebags on the side, you'll see it, they're on both sides. They're filled with calcium chloride. So right now, we are using calcium chloride along with salt. Calcium chloride is very effective in colder weathers, whereas salt at, I think, believe 24 degrees, it stops its potent, its power or whatever, so then calcium chloride is better for lower degrees.
If you follow the spread, you can see in the back they have the spray nozzles.
Yeah.
They just coat the salt as it's coming out with the calcium chloride. The brine truck is basically just that spray on a larger scale, directed to the road. But it's time consuming. And, you know, to do it on a grain scale, that would be really hard.
Thank you.
No questions, thanks.
Hi, good morning. Carol Ann Church from Community Board 2. I think we would give sanitation a passing grade for snow removal in our district. However, we have some narrow streets, especially in the heights. So I'm hoping that we get one of the little skidsters. What else on your list?
And you have the smaller spreads. We have 2 holsters in Community Board as well, because the heights, the pineapple or the fruit, pineapple, orange roll down.
Yeah, the fruit trees.
Yeah, fruit trees. We're well aware of that.
Thank you.
Right?
So we're noticing that because since the department let go of the position of the sector foreman and reduced the total numbers, we noticed a significant challenge this year in leaf removal. We had less eyes on the street, and we had fewer people riding ahead of the brooms. The brooms were filling up faster. And we think there might be a direct relationship between the loss of the foreman position and the new challenges that we're facing with leaf removal. And in general, you know, just having those eyes on the street were helpful because they were able to quickly arrange for cleanups from dump outs, and they knew the district, they knew the street, every street, they had a picture of it in their mind. So I'm wondering, what's the role of the sector foreman in typical snow removal operations so that we can be mindful of that as we go through this season and see what kind of impact having fewer of those people on the streets might have?
Okay. Just to address the leaf thing, one of the problems we had, especially in SIDS, is mechanical group would come through. And if there's an abundance of leaves, oftentimes they need to stay away from the curb a little and kind of snipe it on the first pass. A lot of the people, because the parking is just so restricted, they assume, okay, the broom went by, and put my car back. Now the guy comes back around 20 minutes later or whatever it is, after he dumps it, comes back around, well, the car's gone. Now he's left with a challenge to the regular person who looks like, hey, guy never did the block. This far from the curb. But he really wasn't. He was sniping it, come back around, and then he come back around, and half the cars went back, half is still double parked, and he can't navigate through that, and he just can't go through the block again. That was a big problem with that. With snow, with the field officers, and as we've had since 2011, during snow comes first over everything else. It includes collection in the street, anything else going on. All eyes are on snow, all personnel are on snow. As we scale back and we have do multiple things, go back to garbage collection, and we still have some personnel on snow and things like that, what we've done is we'll take supervisors and just assign them to different functions. Okay, Jeffrey, you're going to be handling collection today. You're going to be handling snow removal today, or the hauling operation, or the crosswalk guys, or the guys that we hire, the snow laborers, things of that nature, and just give everyone specific tasks. Whereas in the past, sometimes it was nice to have section supervisors, but at the same time, you said, okay, this is your section, and in here you have 5 guys, 5 snow laborers, 3 collection trucks, 2 salt spreaders. The guy is doing a whole host of different things as opposed to saying, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to check on this, and I'm going to focus on this. This is my focus today. It works better to some extent in certain aspects, depending on how much is really going on.
It's been 4 years, right, already?
Yeah.
4 years without the section officer. So we've gone through major snowstorms, we do the best we can, and we've done so far so good. You know, 4 years already without the section office.
Well, implicit in Craig's question, though, is a request for increasing the number of supervisors in the district, and I imagine that we would all agree that that would be helpful to have the
Yes,
additional
without a doubt.
supervisors. It would be helpful to bring back special leaf collection. It would be helpful to bring back 7-day-a-week dedicated basket collection. So those are the things I continuously plug for. But I think that you did a great job with your snow operation FAQs, this sheet, and then another one you sent us
There was
this
another
past
one
week.
too for the residents there, I
Yeah,
believe.
I have both of those. Wish you had done one, and maybe it's not too late, and certainly for next year for leaves. Because we're having the same problem in our district, but I think there's also a concern about homeowner, property owner compliance. We have a lot of lawn landscape services that don't take the bags. And I'm not even a sand worker, and I can tell. When you go down a block and every single bag in front of the house is tied exactly the same way, you got to believe that's the lawn service, especially when you saw them out there earlier that day. So we've had that difficulty. We've had the difficulties with people not sweeping 18 inches into their curb. So we're trying to work with our residents to ensure that they're holding their end of the contract, and letting them know that the brooms don't even have suction, so they can't pick up the leaves when they're in that thick of a pile. But having this kind of information to get out there would be helpful on those too. But nice job on this one.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, just to address Sean, I mean, we'll always take more of anything we can, everything. But in lieu of that, I guess we just try to, do the best we can what we have.
Do you want a glass?
Yeah.
We've also allocated additional rooms to try to alleviate the one room loading out, and we put extra rooms out, short dumps where they can dump sooner and get back to their route sooner. But then it said once, and the people, I live in Brooklyn, I see once they pass the sweeper goes, they go right into the spot. They want this spot.
I grew up on Carroll Street. I know. That room comes by, everybody's just putting their car back.
We've had problems, a lot of problems in certain districts getting down blocks because of the double park problems.
You know, unfortunately, a lot of the compliance comes from enforcement. And when we don't have enforcement out there on a regular basis, enforcing what's important to safety issues and issues of leaf removal, some residents tend not to do it. Maybe they don't think it's their responsibility. But maybe in a district like mine that has, and Southwest Brooklyn has a high population of older residents, maybe it should be looked at into the snow plan that you have enough enforcement agents to enforce the law on private sidewalks. We get a tremendous amount of complaints and you don't have the manpower. So maybe that's something that could be looked at as part of the plan, not have the enforcement agents just go out when there are complaints.
So snow and ice complaints?
Yeah.
Yes, 21. We usually, every day, districts will email enforcement.
I understand.
Yeah, no, but I mean, just in general, with even cleaning needs, because we need that help with commercial routing time, things of that nature.
But the truth of the matter is we have one enforcement agent for a district and sometimes two.
Yeah.
And that doesn't,
I understand.
so maybe if it's incorporated in the plan, we can get those resources to address those issues.
Any additional questions, comments? All right, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
So I know that we had a couple of people come in after I called the roll, but I don't know where everyone's sitting, so if I didn't call your name before, can you just chime in and let me know that you're here? All right, good. Hold on, give me a second here, okay? Okay. We got Department of Probation. Okay. National Grid. Con Edison. 12. Anyone else? We got CB2. Okay, so that concludes our agenda items. Now, just a couple of quick things before we all get out of here. I know everyone's in a rush to go. Just a couple of quick announcements. First, for those of you that don't know yet, it's been semi-public, but beginning next week, there's going to be an exhibit hosted here at Borough Hall of rare manuscripts that were written by St. Francis of Assisi that have not left Italy in 700 years. And this is the only place in the Western Hemisphere they're going to be shown publicly. So they'll be available beginning the 17th, next Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday, for a period of 4, we're hoping for 6 weeks. We're trying to extend it 2 extra weeks. They're currently at the UN right now at a private exhibition, and they're coming here next week. Our website has the full schedule of dates and times that are available. Generally, it's hours between 10 to 4, and if you have large groups, you need to make a reservation in advance, but check the schedule. Please talk to your community boards, your constituents, etc., to spread this information. We think it's really exciting, and it's a huge deal. Again, these things haven't left Italy in 700 years, and they're coming to Borough Hall. We're pretty excited. I just wanted to follow up from our last Borough Service Cabinet meeting that we had in November with the district managers. We talked about the issue with SAPO and the moratorium, because there was a hearing yesterday regarding that. I don't know if anyone here went to testify. You guys, anyone testify? You submitted testimony. So we've been engaging in conversations with the mayor's office on this. We were not able to go testify, but we've been engaging with them in conversation on this. They are fully aware that there are issues concerning the moratorium, and they're looking to redo the entire street permit process moving forward. I don't think that's going to happen in time for this coming year. They haven't confirmed that yet, but they are very cognizant of the fact that there are concerns and issues and problems with the street permitting process, and that they want to take some time to really overhaul the entire thing. So I don't know when that's going to actually take place, but we did talk about that directly with the mayor and his intergovernmental team about 3 weeks ago. So that's the update we have on that. Any district managers have announcements they want to make about anything? Any agencies want to make any announcements? Andy?
Hi everyone, Andy. I just wanted to announce that, I'm sure most people know we're in the middle of our Fair Act hearings, 2015. The Brooklyn Fair Act hearing is going to be on Thursday, December 11th at Brooklyn College, Wallwood Hall. It's going to start at 6 o'clock. Registration will be open until 5 o'clock. We'll be there starting at 5 o'clock. We will be there until 8 o'clock at the very earliest. Just for everyone's information, we've had some Fair Act hearings last week. Attendance was fairly low. What we tend to find is that if there are no service events, attendance is a little low these days. But we would like people to come out and give us your opinion about Fair Act. All the information can be found on our website at www.nca.info. Online testimony is available there. You can find out information where to submit testimony in writing. Once again, the public hearing is Thursday, the 11th, starting at 6 o'clock, Brooklyn College, Welcome Hall. Thank you.
Andy, does anybody ever testify in favor of fair hikes?
No, in general, we only come out if you have something to say.
Yes.
Good morning, Sharice Lawrence, part of the Aging. I would just like to mention and perhaps even remind some of the district managers to look at the Department of the Aging's website on a monthly basis. We post the Medicare orientation classes that are being posted by our Health Insurance Information Counseling Assistance Program, otherwise known as HICAP. The next one is Thursday at 10:30, from 10:30 to 1, and interested persons have to register. There is an email address on the website. I do have to get back to Sean because he did ask me at the last meeting what the capacity is for these classes, but I would just urge you to look at the website each month. Please share that in your newsletters because there's so many people that are new to Medicare and they do need the orientation because there's so many nuances to it.
Great, thank you. Also, the email for this meeting and on the table as well is the draft agenda, schedule of meetings for 2015. Please take a copy of that, review it, let me know if you have any concerns, questions, whatever. My hope is to finalize that by next week. You'll notice there were some changes to the schedule. We're going to have a number of district manager only meetings throughout the year, a change from this past year to give district managers a chance to have a time to meet and discuss issues that are ongoing across community boards outside of having the agencies present. So hopefully that'll lessen the demand on the agencies from attending, but also give us a chance to really formulate a strong and ambitious agenda throughout the year. So please send any feedback on that to me by the end of this week if possible, early next week. My hope is to have that sent out as a final schedule by next Friday. And with that, I say thank you very much. Another announcement. Spoke too soon. Thank you very much. Does the choir take karaoke submissions? Because I think some of our district managers are karaoke enthusiasts. Yes. Yes. Yes, you should be. Okay, we'll take care of that. Yes, absolutely. Anything else? So with that, happy holidays to everyone, and we will see you in 2015. Thank you.
Good. Let's talk about January. Yeah, New Year's.